Every living thing on Earth is unalterably connected, from the insects that carry the pollen that fertilizes the plants to the food chains that each animal relies upon for energy. We each have a role to play. But what is our role? In order to support the ancient ecosystems that reside on our planet, we must take care of them by creating balanced amounts of human support and through minimizing negative human interference. This brings us to the topic of climate change, commonly referred to as global warming. If we interfere with Earth's natural systems too much through actions such as pollution and deforestation, we begin to disrupt the natural habitats of animals and begin to degrade our own. Specifically speaking, according to the World Counts, in only 69 years from 1850 to 2019, 950 gigatons of carbon dioxide were released into the atmosphere. Why is this harmful, you may ask? Here's some science. When greenhouse gases such as methane and carbon dioxide are released into the atmosphere, they act like reflective mirrors. When sunlight reaches the Earth's atmosphere, it would normally bounce off the surface to attract off the Earth and leave through the atmosphere. However, the greenhouse gases trap this heat and reflect it back at Earth, slowly increasing the temperature. Now, let's review what we have learned. Which of the following are greenhouse gases? The choices are carbon dioxide, oxygen, or methane. I'm going to reveal the answers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you chose A and C, you are correct. On to question 2. How many gigatons of carbon dioxide went into the atmosphere between the years of 1850 and 2019? A. 1,070 gigatons. B. 950 gigatons. C. 520 gigatons. If you chose B, then you are correct. Now for our final question. What is another name for climate change? A. Global crisis. B. Climate rearrangement. Or C. Global warming. If you chose C, then you are correct. Let us continue. With all this information of how climate change occurs, you may be wondering what causes it. Well, the main cause is human activity. One of the largest contributors is non-green energy. Burning fossil fuels, utilizing coal, and switching to natural gas produce horrific amounts of greenhouse gases. In fact, according to the Environmental Defense Fund, natural gas is filled with methane that, when released, contributes significantly to climate change. When natural gas leaks, it releases much more methane into the atmosphere. In 2018, 29% of all of the United States' methane emissions were caused by abandoned oil and natural gas wells in natural gas and petroleum systems, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration. But is methane really that bad? Well, Greenpeace states that when methane is released into the atmosphere, its global warming potential, or GWP, is 84. Meaning that it has the potential to destabilize the climate 84 times more than carbon dioxide over a period of 2 decades. However, there are still more human-related causes. Mass breedings of animals such as cows and other livestock also release methane. When these animals are bred together in close quarters, they have no space for personal hygiene or other such matters. But they are not the only ones producing methane. Municipal or city/town related landfills have been estimated to be the third largest source of methane in 2019. They account for over 15.1% of the United States' emissions in that same year, according to the United States Environmental Protection Agency. National Geographic states that transportation, such as but not limited to water vehicles, motor engines, and airplanes create between 15 and 20% of yearly global emissions. In the United States in 2017, machinery operated for transportation purposes created 29% of greenhouse gases released to the atmosphere that year. Now, let us review. Question 1. What is one of the largest contributors to climate change? A. Non-green energy. B. Livestock. Or C. Putting plastic in landfills. And the answer is A. Non-green energy. Question 2. What does GWP stand for? A. Green waste proportions. B. Global warming potential. Or C. Grand Watershed Project. The answer is B. Finally, landfills were estimated to have what rank in methane emissions in 2019? A, the 5th largest, B, the 7th largest, or C, the 3rd largest? And the answer is C, the 3rd largest. Now, as we have discussed both what climate change is and how climate change occurs, you are probably wondering how we can stop it. This is a very pertinent concern for which there are both short-term and long-term answers. To cut down on methane emissions, you can avoid overly processed meat and animal products. Additionally, avoiding placing recyclable products in the trash reduces landfill greenhouse gas. But that's not all. Buying in bulk from stores like BJ's and Costco allows for reduced packaging. Using compostable or recyclable paper bags instead of plastic ones at grocery stores also contributes to this goal. Better yet, use reusable ones. Finally, instead of ramping up the demand for new clothes by consistently buying new ones, try to reuse clothes throughout your family and buy from consignment stores. Carpooling and using public transportation will use less fuel in vehicles with motors as well as reduce emissions. There are a couple of longer-term, larger solutions as well. Electric cars produce less emissions than our modern ones, but at a cost. The electricity used to power these vehicles can still come from non-green energy sources, allowing methane and carbon dioxide to enter our atmosphere in greater quantities. This prompts the need to switch to green energy. Solar panels, wind turbines, and using water power each produce greener energy than fossil fuels, coal plants, and natural gas. However, they too have a pitfall. Solar panels specifically undergo a complex manufacturing process that produces emissions and much more waste. According to the Institute for Energy Research, there is an estimated 250,000 metric tons of solar panel waste in 2016 alone, leading to a projected 78 million metric tons of waste by 2050. They also include toxic chemicals. If these are not disposed of properly, they too can end up in landfills emitting much more methane. Then what is the solution? One solution is nuclear power, a process of taking uranium fuel pellets and breaking apart the nuclear force around an atom to release energy. Thankfully, according to the Nuclear Energy Institute, this solution is low waste. The used fuel in nuclear energy since 1950 was only ever enough to cover a football field to the height of about 10 yards. Now for our final review. Question 1. Which of the following are ways to reduce methane emissions? A. Using less shopping trips but buying more. B. Using hand-me-down clothes, or C, buying in bulk? The answers are B and C, using hand-me-down clothes and buying in bulk. Question 2. What is one negative consequence of solar panels? A. Production of pollution through manufacturing. B. Solar panels do not last long. Or C. Solar panels are costly. And the answer is A. Now, time for question 3. How much waste had been produced from nuclear fuel pellets in and before 2016? A. 1 football field filled to 10 yards. B. 1 football field filled to 17 yards. Or C. 2 football fields. And the answer is A. 1 football field filled to 10 yards. To conclude this video, climate change is predominantly caused by greenhouse gas emissions released from human activity. To combat this, there are both short-term and long-term solutions, such as switching to electric cars and cutting down on highly processed meat. Each action might seem small, but when we engage in a collective and unified effort, the effects are limitless. Well, that's all. For the time being, continue to protect the planet, and we will see you next time on Change Climate Change by Girl Scout Troop 5953.